I love when we have the guys come to us at the shows that are, a little older, and they say, man, I remember seeing Maiden with Paul Di'Anno back in the day, and seeing you guys gives me like the same feeling as that. And I mean, there's no bigger compliment than that. But
joining me today is Tom Hewson, better known as Bones from Tailgunner. The second album, Midnight Blitz, out February 6th. Why do they call you Bones?
It's a long-standing nickname from when I was a kid. I think there's some pirate called Tom Bones, and obviously my name is Tom. So when I was playing in my first band in school, our guitar player's dad started to call me it, and I always liked how it sounded. It's a pretty cool stage name, so it stuck, thank God.
Listen, when did you realize KK Downing was paying attention?
That was back in April of 2023. We got an interview. We were actually driving to shoot a video for the last single from the first record. And we got an email, and the email title was quite ominous. It just said KK Downing. And it was from his manager, who is actually now our manager too, Art. And it just said, hey guys, KK heard your debut EP, Crash Dive, that we released at the end of 2022, and he really liked the EP, and he wanted to invite us to open the first KK's Priest show alongside Paul Di'Anno as well, which was the first real support slot that we ever got, which was pretty crazy. So it started off big, and it was really a great thing for us to have KK's endorsement of the band. We knew we were doing something right.
Oh, sure. When did it hit you that things had changed?
It was really after that show, because before that, we were able to play and to tour very quickly. After we started the band, we put out the first single, and it had a great response, but we were playing very small clubs, or the kind of, the back rooms of bars or whatever, which we loved those types of gigs. But to step up from playing to maybe 100 people a night to 2,000 people on a big stage like that, and have pyro and ramps and whatever, that was really a big noticeable thing for us. And that show was about a week before, I think it was a week before the debut album came out, and it couldn't have been better timing, because it meant that the UK really woke up to us just before we dropped the debut. So that's when we sort of knew that things were really, really happening.
AK ever share with you why you got involved with the band? What put him over the edge to say, hey, these guys I want to get involved with?
I mean, yeah, pretty much, because the first time that we met him, he said to me that he'd been waiting for a band like us to come along from the UK since the early days of Def Leppard. And that was such a great vindication of everything we're trying to do, because we felt the same way. I mean, all we're trying to do is to be the band that we always wanted to see when we were growing up. And, as far as I'm concerned, Britain invented and largely perfected heavy metal with Sabbath, Maiden, Priest, Motorhead, Venom, Saxon, you name it. And there's not been a new band really break through playing that style of music in a very, very, very long time. And it's all we're trying to do is to be that band. And I think he recognized that. And for me, he's the true defender of the faith. And he was just excited to see a new band playing that style. So it was very easy for him to work with us, I think. And I'm very glad about that.
What kind of producer was KK Downing?
He was someone that I wouldn't say he was like a hard-ass producer. He would encourage us to be happy with everything we did ourselves, which is something that we were already doing. But, we had such a high standard as a band unto one another, and we're so brutal with one another that I think that really helped KK, because if we were a band that recorded sloppy guitar parts or vocals or something, he would have had a lot more of work to do. But something that we learned from KK was that no detail is too small to be considered, and that every single note, every single second counts. And, sometimes it was frustrating to work like that because I typically, I'm very kind of visceral and raw with the way that I like to work and record. And KK is very considered. Every little detail, as I say, matters. And so that was an interesting and very informative thing to learn from him about how to write and how to record music. And of course, it was a great agreement where, as I said to him, we weren't working with him not to listen to him. His track record, his experience, you can't argue with the guy. Practically, he had a large part in inventing heavy metal. But what he said to us was, ultimately, the band are the ones that have to be happy with this stuff, because we have to go out and tour it and stand behind it for the next, 20, 30, hopefully 40 odd years. So there was a great kind of mutual respect in the studio. It was really cool.
What did you need to do on this album that was different from the first album?
Improve, in a word. We weren't looking to change anything dramatically, stylistically. I think it was just a case of doing everything better than we'd already done it. In terms of the musicianship, the songwriting, the production, the artwork, you name it. It was just, the debut album was a chance to show people who we were. And this album was a chance to really show people exactly what it is we can do. The first album I wrote pretty much myself before the band existed, and I'd never written songs before. I just did it out of necessity. And there was no budget. We recorded the whole thing in 10 days in an Airbnb. And with this album, we'd been out on the road and played over 100 shows, shared the stages with some huge bands, had a proper budget, a proper producer. So it was a chance for us to do things as well as we could when we actually had the backing to do it.
Mm-hmm. Now, you mentioned being on the road. How did touring change how this record was made? Did you visualize these songs in a live atmosphere because you had been on the road after the first one?
Not consciously, but I do think it does come into it of how things work live. And you do get a sense when you play so many shows of what have we already got and what do we not have? What types of songs do we still need to write to make as a band? The thing is as well, I saw this great quote the other day from someone. They were actually talking about band photos, but they said you can always tell when a band are new and when they've been on the road and played over 100 shows, because you can just see it, right? It's like they could be the same age, they could wear the same clothes, whatever, but there's something in the eyes that it's like the road dirt, and it's exactly the same when it comes to writing and recording. Once you've been out there and you've toured, like we have, we're a lot of people say a very sort of like road hungry band, and it's true. We play all over the place. It really doesn't. It does inform the writing and the recording because you just can't help it,
Oh, sure. What role does a song like War in Heaven from the new one play on this record?
I think War in Heaven's a hugely important song on this record. It's a statement as well. The thing for us is the debut album was this very raw, New Wobham inspired record, whereas this one, I think it draws from a wider area of heavy metal. There's more of the, I guess, mid-80s kind of thing going on than the 1978 type stuff. It was actually KK encouraged us to write a ballad. We were having a conversation one night and he said, you can't be this 80s style heavy metal band without a big, powerful ballad. And the first thing that I thought was, I don't want to write a ballad because I think as a metal band, it's so easy to write a cheesy ballad, to fall into the trap of doing something that, the acoustic guitar's out, it's their more than words moment or whatever. We really didn't want that. I mean, you look at bands like Maiden, they don't do a ballad unless it's the right thing to do, and it's equally as hard hitting as the faster or heavier songs. And that's what we had to get right. So we didn't write the ballad until the timing was right. And we're actually in the studio, and Zach started to play. He was just checking his guitar, but he started to play the intro to War in Heaven. And I said to him, "What's that?" And he's like, "I don't know." And I said, "Okay, you've got to record that right now. We got something." And it was actually a big inspiration for that, although it's a completely different song, was being out on the road with KK's Priest. They were playing the obscure Priest song, Before the Dawn, and seeing them perform that every night was a huge inspiration on War in Heaven. We were essentially trying to write our own Before the Dawn.
Sure. What does the title track Midnight Blitz represent for the band right now? Because it's one hell of an opener.
Thank you, man. Midnight Blitz is a statement piece, really. I like to have one on every record where it's a song about us as a band. The same actually on Guns for Hire with that title track. It's a song about the band. I've always been hugely inspired by Rose Tattoo's Rock and Roll Outlaw, about being in a band, being on the road, being a rocker, living the life. And I like to have songs like that on our records as well. Midnight Blitz, it was actually the last song that we wrote for the album. We knew that there was just something missing, and we had to get it right. We had to have that calling card, that signature track. And with Midnight Blitz, as I say, it is a song about the band. Obviously, you've got the double entendre of the Blitz is in, World War II and that stuff. But for us, Midnight Blitz is the band. It's the show. Heavy metal is the Midnight Blitz. Going out and drinking with your friends, that's the Midnight Blitz. It's whatever you want it to be, but that's what it means,
The new single, Eulogy. What do you want people to feel when Eulogy ends?
I always feel a little bit out of breath when Eulogy ends, personally. Whether we're playing it live or I'm just listening to it, it's the closing song on the record, and it's the most ambitious track I think we've ever written. It's not the longest. It's not as long as Rebirth and the debut, but I think it's even more epic. There's a running theme throughout this new album of, the finite nature of life and death and the great unknown and dealing with your own mortality. And Eulogy really encapsulates that whole theme. That's what the song's about. And like I say, musically, it's definitely the most ambitious. It was, let's throw everything that we possibly can into a track in terms of the extremities of what we're capable of as a band. And I do hope when people are done listening to it that they also just feel a little breathless, a little bit like they've just been knocked over the head by something, because that's certainly how we feel.
Recently, you were featured on the Metallica Leather tribute. And Bones, this one hits close to home. Kill 'Em All was recorded right here in Rochester, New York, about 5 miles from where I'm sitting right now. I was a young metalhead when the record was being made. And about a year or two ago, we did a anniversary interview with Kirk Hammett talking about those sessions. But what does it mean to you to open up that tribute album with Hit the Lights?
Do you know what? It was such an honor for us because we played, there's a club here in London called the Underworld. It's one of the most legendary clubs in the UK. And we were fortunate enough to be able to pack it out whilst touring the debut album. And if you can do that as a band on your debut, people really do take notice. And someone from that label came down to the show and they saw us there and asked us to be a part of it. And the great thing for us is that we're carrying the flag for British heavy metal, which of course was such an inspiration for Metallica when they started. It's really nice that it's been able to go full circle, and now Metallica are influencing British heavy metal bands, and to be able to pay that back, to pay tribute. I mean, we play Hit the Lights live as well. We'll be playing it some nights on the upcoming tour. It's in the set list. And I just think about Metallica playing, the Diamond Head covers and whoever else they used to play back in the day and sometimes still do. And the fact that we now cover Metallica as a new British heavy metal band, it just feels so full circle. It's so cool. And it was an honor to be asked, especially to open that record alongside, Motorhead, Saxon, Raven, the Almighty. A really cool thing for us to be able to do.
Oh, sure. Did you get any reaction or feedback once it was out?
Yeah, it's been a really good reaction to that single. I mean, I can't really say from anyone specific, but the fans have really taken to it. And I think as well, a lot of people didn't really expect us to drop a Metallica cover. I mean, everyone says, when are you going to cover Maiden, And we've done a couple of Priest covers live on the road and Dio as well, and a number of more obscure bands. But I think people were taken a little bit aback by the fact that we've just dropped a Metallica cover, and especially the timing of it, because we put out Midnight Blitz and then it was almost straight away after, oh, by the way, here's a Metallica cover. So it's been really cool.
Did you know that Silver Lining release, the No Life to Leather, was coming out in the fall? Was it a premeditated decision?
Yeah, that's right. I mean, we had nothing to do with the timing that they released the album, but we knew when it would be out. So it went well for us because it was extra momentum whilst we released our new record.
Well, someone did their job raising you, because when did 80s metal first click for you?
Do you know what? It's funny because people always assume that it must have been my family or something. And for some of the other guys in the band, it was. But I know for me and Rhea, at least, that we don't come from that background. It was just, I remember the first time I got into properly into music was I heard the Back in Black album when I was a kid. And as soon as Brian Johnson started to sing on Hell's Bells, like that was it. It just changed everything for me. And then from there, I had Guns N' Roses, the Pistols, Maiden, and we didn't grow up really listening to anything that was current at the time. Any of the modern rock or metal stuff. I'm still, to this day, I have no interest in most of that stuff. I like some new bands. There's some great new bands, but I like bands that sound like old bands, like us. So for us, it's just, this is the way heavy metal is supposed to sound, It was never a conscious choice.
What are you seeing at your shows? You seeing older guys? You seeing younger guys? You seeing both?
Both. Yeah, we see everything. It's a mix, and that's exactly how it should be. I love when we have the guys come to us at the shows that are, a little older, and they say, man, I remember seeing Maiden with Paul Di'Anno back in the day, and seeing you guys gives me like the same feeling as that. And I mean, there's no bigger compliment than that for people of that age that were around in those times to say that. And at the same time, we get, the kids as well that are 12, 13, 14, and they say to us, finally, there's a band for this generation that play the style that we like, that we're into, because we don't want to go and see bands that play in fucking drop Z and scream and breakdowns and, the short hair metal. It's not what we're into. It's not what they're into. And I'm so happy that we can give this generation a band of their own that they can look up to, like Maiden, Priest, Metallica. That's what it's all about. And there'll always be a fan base for this stuff. It'll never die because it's the best type of music.
Midnight Blitz, the 8th, and then you're straight out onto the road. What excites you most about this tour run?
This is going to be a real big tour for us. We've just announced the first load of dates. This first leg, as you say, kicks off next week. I'm really looking forward to being out with Hammerfall. For the reason that I know in the late 90s, someone was saying to me that they were seen as this sort of great hope for old school style heavy metal. And 30 years later, we're in a very similar position. So to be invited by those guys and recognized by those guys as a new band also flying the flag, I'm really excited to get on the road and to play to their fans. And I know the guys in Hammerfall can talk about some pretty obscure, awesome metal bands. Like, we're both huge fans of Warlord. So I'm really looking forward to hanging out with them. And And to play to their fans as well, because I go to so many shows, so many tours. I think everyone agrees. Sometimes you see a band and the support band is not at all relevant to the headliner, and you just sort of think, why are these guys here? But I think we can do it justice opening for Hammerfall. I think we're a worthy band to be opening for them. And then we get back to the UK, and we're out with Chris Jericho's band Fozzy, which is going to be pretty cool. I'm really happy that with this record, and it was something that we wanted to achieve, is that we're not just playing with the pure heavy metal bands. We're managing to cross over a little bit into the mainstream of rock and metal, which, you know, if we want to take old school heavy metal like you and I love forward, we need to be able to get it in front of people that don't know the millions of more obscure bands. So I'm really pleased about that.
Well, let's touch on Download this year. That festival has pivoted from a metal fest to you guys are one of the only metal bands. Must be exciting playing in your Download right in your backyard, if you will.
Yeah, I mean, I dare say that we're the only heavy metal band on that festival. It's
Really?
strange because it's Monsters of Rock. That's how we see it. It's Donington. It's legendary hallowed turf. That's what we're there for, man. I mean, it's great to be able to play a festival like Download as it is in the modern day and play our style of music, because I think we'll be the only band playing that style of music there, which is somewhat sad, but at the same time, it's an awesome thing for us to be able to be that band, you know? And I'm very much looking forward to it. We played Download last year on a smaller stage, so we're working our way up the lineup. And personally as well, we play the same day as Guns N' Roses, and it's a real, you know, life goal, to be honest, to play on a lineup with them. That's a really, really cool thing for both Rhea and I. It's our favorite band, so it's going to be awesome.
Yeah, I found through show research that you have a liking for GNR, and you drinking out of your Guns N' Roses mug today.
Honestly, I'm drinking a beer today, but yeah, the GNR mug is never far away.
That's awesome. Hate to rub it in, but one of the best times I ever saw Guns N' Roses was opening for Aerosmith, and it happened to be the show where they were doing the Rolling Stone cover in 1989. So they interviewed Slash, and it was in Weedsport, New York, and it was known as the Dust Bowl gig. It was an old race venue. Like, they used to have race cars, but they didn't do race cars anymore, and they just had concerts. And it was just this huge stage, a big field, and tons of wood chips. Guns N' Roses on, it was the Lies, that Summer Lies tour, and Aerosmith on Pump or something like that. But then
They had oh, right.
What's that?
Did they have Deep Purple on that lineup as well?
No, maybe somewhere on the tour, but not on this one.
Yeah.
It was
Wow.
just the 80s, man. We go on all day. What do you want people thinking when they walk away from a Tailgunner show?
That heavy metal is for eternity, that it'll never die, man. That's all we want. There's no deep message or meaning to what we're trying to do. There's no political stance. All we are is, you know, put on your leather spikes, drink a million beers, come and bang your head and have the best time in the world, because that's what heavy metal is for.
Well said. Bones, thanks for your time today, man. Good luck, and we'll be cheering you on from the sidelines.
Thanks, dude. Great to speak to you. And I'll catch you. All the
See you,
best.
man.
Metal for Life.
Thank you for listening to Metal Mayhem ROC. Check out our website at metalmayhemroc.com for information on podcasts, archives, links to all our live radio shows, and all sorts of info. Please like, follow, and share with everyone, even your non-metal friends. And always remember to keep it heavy.